Okay, I should be live. Let me amble on over to the stove. Okay, I should be live. I got to amble on over to the stove. I'm repeating myself on YouTube. All right. Can you hear me on the microphone decent? I think I got it turned up. I got a different mic, and I'll wait a little bit and see if anybody has any problems with the audio. While I'm doing that, I'm going to turn this pan on. This is a pan I'm going to use tonight. This is a Chicago Hardware and Foundry hammered finish. Ain't that cool? That nice hammered texture. It's a number 9 skillet. You can spot these. The hammered finished ones all have a number 8. Then they have the size number. And they're usually big numbers, about 1 inch tall on the bigger pans. All right, loud and clear. Good deal. So I'm using this because it's a little bit heavier than some of the other older pans I have. In fact, it is pretty heavy. It's kind of a brute for its size. And you want a fairly good heavy pan for doing this. So I'll get this warming up over medium heat while we commence. Tonight, I'm going to make a classic Italian dish, risotto. I'm going to make just a real basic risotto. And from there, you can go a lot of different directions with it. And I got my screen turned. Hopefully I can see the comments a little better. Yeah, sounds good. Howdy, hey all. Let's see. Oddly enough, I'm having trouble seeing the bold type names more than I am the letters. Prairie Queen, hi. Sunoshi 45, hi. Paula Brandon, Dennis Fott, Billy Lee, good to see you. John, hey John. Patricia, North Dakota Cowgirl. Sydney, hey Sydney. Anyway, that's starting to warm up a little bit. To make risotto, you're going to need, it's not real complicated. You need a quart of chicken stock. I brought this up to a boil and then turned it down so it's just kind of simmering. It's still real hot though. Not quite boiling, but it is simmering. You'll need rice. The rice is important. You can do this with a regular long grain white rice, but it'll take a good bit longer and it won't get nearly as creamy because plain long grain white rice doesn't have as much starch in it. Ideally, you want to use arbuto rice. Arbuto. It's an Italian rice, and that's the traditional rice that's used for risotto. But the store didn't have any of that. So what I'm using is sushi rice, which is a pretty good second choice. It's a short-grained, fairly starchy rice. And you don't want to rinse it first before you use it like you would when you're making sushi. You want all that extra starch. You'll also need a 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan, a 1/2 cup of white wine. You can see that over there. A little olive oil, some butter. I got some parsley over there to mince up when we're done. You can use either finely chopped onions, finely chopped shallots, or a little bit of garlic, and I'm going to use some minced garlic for this. But as soon as my pan gets hot, that's doing good, we'll get underway. Start off with a tablespoon or so of olive oil. Get that in your pan, get her heating up good. And add about a tablespoon or so of butter. Come on, Lego. Let that warm up and melt a little bit. It should come right off. There we go. And we'll get that warmed up good and get the butter all melted and mixed in with the olive oil. This is going to take a while. This takes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes start to finish. So let me look at my chat over there. Shirley, hi Shirley. Howdy Mud, looks yummy. Well, we're getting there. Billy Lee already said hi. Hello everyone to Colleen Rich Pickett, Billy Lee Lawton. Okay, this is good and just about warmed up. First thing you do is you put in your onions or shallots, or in this case, a little bit of minced garlic. Give her just a little bit more. And we'll stir that around. Get it to where it's cooked a little bit. You don't want to really brown it. You just want to get it kind of translucent, just enough to cook it a little bit. Then you smell the garlic. And then we'll put our rice in. Stir that around. That looks good. You don't want to really brown your rice, but you do want to get it all coated good in oil. And cook it just a little bit. Just enough so it gets a little bit translucent. Like I said, you don't need to brown it. Just get her started cooking. Get that stuff off the sides a bit. A little bit brown won't hurt, but you don't want to really brown it up. But anyway, that's got a good coat of oil on everything. And now we add our white wine. And let that go until it all soaks in and absorbs and cooks off. Get all the alcohol burned off it. Well, it will by the time we're done anyway, but get it out of there right away. Back that off just a little bit. You want to do this over medium heat. You don't want to rush things. You don't want to boil all your liquids off right away. You want them to have time to absorb. And now we're ready to start adding the chicken stock. You add the chicken stock a ladleful at a time, and you let it cook, let it absorb. A lot of it will absorb. Some of it will evaporate off. Oops, slop a little. But you want to get everything loosened up and cooking good. And once you got this cooking, you don't need to really stir it continuously, because overworking it can make it kind of sticky and gloopy. We need just a little bit more here to start with. That's soaked up pretty quick. But you just need to stir it enough to keep it from sticking, keep it from burning on the bottom of the pan. Slow that down just a little bit more. And really that's all it is just a little bit of time. We'll cook this down until it's almost dry again, and then we'll add some more. We'll add some more chicken stock. Yeah, you start with uncooked rice. Minnesota Encourager. You start with uncooked rice, usually. It does go faster if you pre-cook the rice. You know, they do that in a lot of restaurants. But just doing it at home, you can go right from the start with raw rice. Hi, Sydney. Hannah, hello, hello. Grandma Prepper, how's everyone? Well, I'm doing well. Crab risotto. Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of different things with it, and I'll touch on that a little bit later once we get farther into it. But right now I'm just going to do a very basic base risotto type of thing. Actually sticking a little bit, but a little bit of broth will take care of that. If you run out of broth before your risotto is really done, you can just finish it up with hot water. Or if you got more broth handy, go ahead and heat that up. And cast iron works great for this because it really retains the heat very well, especially a heavier pan. And it'll hold the heat when you add the liquid, and it won't cool the pan down so much. This is cooking a little bit too fast, so I gotta turn it down some more. Because I don't think my rice is anywhere near cooked yet. But it is really soaking that up fast, so we're doing pretty good. And you can see it's starting to get thick. You don't want it too gluey or too sloppy. It's supposed to be creamy. Give it a little bit more there. I know I said you don't want to overwork this, and here I am stirring it pretty steady to keep it from sticking or giving me problems. But I think I got her under control now. Anyway, while that's cooking, check my comments here. You love food. Yeah, food is good. Patricia, you never had this dish? Yeah, it's a traditional Italian recipe. And it's, like I say, it's fairly easy to make, and it's really delicious. And I'm making just a basic risotto, but there's a million different things you can do with it. Once you get the risotto cooked, you can add chicken, shrimp, all kinds of different vegetables. Mushrooms are really good. I like peas in my risotto. Peas are really good. You know, peas and shrimp really go good together with the risotto. Yeah, that's soaked up good. Give her a little bit more broth. And you'll notice I'm using a silicone spatula so I don't get complaints about all the scraping on the iron with my steel tools. It can get to be a little irritating, but I really don't even notice it anymore because that's what I pretty much always use. I can hear that. Anyway, I was going to show you while this is cooking some of the things I found over the week in my hunting around. Like I said, this is a Chicago Hardware Foundry number 9 hammered skillet. This little rusty guy is a number 5 Chicago hammered skillet. I got this one and this, or no, this is a number 3 skillet, sorry. It's kind of hard to see on there because it's still pretty rusty and cruddy, but you can see the number 8 and then there's a 3 after it. This is also a number 5 Chicago Hardware Foundry. It's not hammered, it's a smooth finish. And the non-hammered ones, Chicago Hardware usually used a number and a diamond. Let me see. I think you can see it there. You can see a number 5 and a diamond. That's the way you identify Chicago Hardware Foundry pans. This was a really good deal. I found this at a second-hand shop for, I don't know if you can see that, $9, $8.99. That's a number 7 Wagnerware with a heat ring, so that's from before 1935. But it's got the 4-digit catalog number on it, so it's between 1924, which is when they started the catalog numbers, and about 1935. And it's a nice little pan. Come here, you. Sticking a little bit there. Trying to talk and make risotto at the same time might not have been the best idea. I'm getting a little bit of sticking, but it's coming off, so shouldn't cause too much of a problem. And I'll give her a taster just to see how that rice is cooking. I don't think it's anywhere near done yet, but we'll see. It's not quite done yet, but it's farther along than I thought it would be at this point already. Let me hit her a little more broth. Scratch that little bit there loose. Yeah, now we're good. Anyway, let's see the comments here. Yeah, arborist rice, arboreal, I think is what it's called. Yeah, arboreal. Must be a lot more cast iron floating around in your neck of the woods. You know, kind of depends on where you look. Some places it is kind of scarce. Cook my rice for 15 minutes because you like it soft. Consistency is off, but the flavor remains the same. Yeah, I feel like it softer. That would definitely work. Yeah, the proper Italian rice is creamier, but the sushi rice works pretty good too. Like I said, you can do it with just plain long-grained white rice, although it isn't quite as creamy and it does tend to take longer. This is really soaking up good though. I may have to get a little bit of hot water to finish this off because I don't have any more stock. We're not quite done yet. Oh, hang on here, I gotta click a button. Yeah, the arboreal rice, bigger grocery stores would probably have it. Smaller ones might not. I haven't really seen it in my area, but I haven't really looked all that hard either. But there's a couple stores that I think would probably have it if I really looked for it. But most stores nowadays carry sushi rice, and that's pretty good. There's a couple of other Italian breeds of rice that work very good for risotto, and I couldn't even begin to tell you what they're called. So I won't even try to tell you what they're called. But they're Italian breeds of rice too. I'm going to add the last of my stock. I'm going to grab a little bit of hot water just to be safe. That might be enough. I'm not really sure. You use half couscous and half rice. Yeah, that'd work good too. That'd give you quite a bit of starch. And I remember looking online. Some people use certain breeds of wheat. I can't think of what kind you use, but it's whole wheat berries rather than rice, and that I guess is really good too. Has a different flavor, but it really comes up good on the consistency. Let me turn up my front burner here and get that water. real hot. Okay, and this I didn't show you yet. I paid a bit more for this thing. I paid $47 for this. This is a Scotch bowl. It's a bowl, it has a handle, it has a ring on it. These are meant for hanging over a fire in a fireplace over a crane, or you could use that to fish it out of a oven. You know, snag your hook with something. But that is, don't know how well you'll be able to see that. I haven't cleaned it yet. But that is a favorite Pequaware Scotch bowl. Beautiful little thing. It's going to be real nice once I get her all cleaned up. I'll get these all thrown in the lye tank here pretty soon. Stir this around again. And we'll give her a taste, see how we're done for our cooking. Almost done. You want it to be a little bit al dente. You don't want your rice hard, but you want to have a little bit of chewiness to it. And I think I'm just about to that point. I'm going to give her a little bit more water. I should have had a quart and a cup of stock. That would have been just about enough, I think. Let that soak. I'll give them just a touch more water. And once that absorbs, I think I'll just about have her done. There, look over here. Sushi rice is similar. Yeah, this is sushi rice that I'm using. Oh, that Scotch bowl. Yeah, those are nice. I got a Wagnerware one that's got a little bit of plating on it. It's a nice little bowl too. But something like this, if you wanted to, you could use it for stir frying, almost like a wok. You know, like a small wok if you just had to make a meal for one. Yeah, and Scotch bowls are cool. And $47 for a favorite anything is a pretty good price, so couldn't pass it by. See how we're doing here. We are almost ready. Oh yeah. Just about done. You can give her just a splash more water to hold it while I come over here and chop up a little bit of parsley. Got some fresh parsley. Get that out of the way. Should be about enough of that. Okay, now Yep, that is ready. So the rice is, like you can see, it's nice and creamy, and it has a bit of chewiness to it, but it isn't hard. It's definitely cooked all the way through. So what we do now is we add our 1/4 cup of Parmesan. And I lost my pepper already. There it is. Give her a little bit of pepper. And some butter. About another tablespoon and a half, 2 tablespoons or so. You stir this all around until the butter and the cheese are all melted and stirred in good. And that is a basic, oh, got my parsley. Give her a good sprinkle on the parsley. Set this out of the way. And there is your basic risotto. And like I said, at this point, you could add some chicken, diced up chicken. You could add shrimp, seafood, mushrooms. It's real good with mushrooms. And pretty much any kind of vegetable, broccoli, cauliflower. I like peas in mine. Peas and shrimp, like I said before. You could add crab, lobster, whatever you fancy. There. That's ready to dish some up. And I'll give this a little sprinkle of parsley on top for color. And I'll show you the final product. There you have a basic risotto. It's real simple. Does take a little bit of time, but it isn't hard. And it is truly delicious. Give it a little taste here. Oh, that's so good. Anyhow, I got to move my setup back over to my little desk here. Close the shutter on my camera so you don't get vertigo getting spun around. Goes right about there. Let me grab my microphone. Get that out of the way, get the cord out of the way. I won't put it in the arm holder that I have, but I will just, right now I just got it in a little tripod desk stand. And let's see here. There I am. I forgot to turn that damn light off. I'll be right back. There we go. That's better. I'm forever forgetting to turn that overhead light off when I come back over here and sit down. And move my camera a little bit. Okay. Let me turn my monitor more back towards me so I can see a little better. And I forgot my glasses. Oh well. All right. Scroll back through the comments a little bit here. One thing about StreamYards that kind of bugs me, when you enter the studio, it'll have a screen where it asks you to let it use your camera and your mic, and it'll give you a little test shot of your camera and a and a meter for your mic. But once you actually start broadcasting, you enter the studio and get underway, it doesn't give you a meter for your mic, so you have no way of really knowing how loud you are broadcasting, and that'd be really handy. Let me back up here into some of the comments. I know I missed some. I got most of them, but I know I missed a few. Let me get right back here. I don't know why I had my glasses over here in the first place, because they're reading glasses and I don't need them to see the monitor from where I was at the stove. There, now I can see. Let's see, I got all these. Crab risotto, yeah, crab risotto is really good. Doing great. Wish you left your recipe. Stuck in a wheelchair for an hour. Well, better than being stuck in it for longer than an hour. Is the rice normally firm by the end, or is it still fairly soft? It shouldn't be hard and crunchy like raw rice, but it should have definite chewiness to it. And you'll know when you bite into it whether it's done. I hate to say it, don't even know what risotto is. Is it rice? Yeah, it's just basically a rice dish, and it's the process, the way you cook it, that makes it like it is. And I have a little bit here. Seems all still nice and warm. But that is so good. And like you watched me, how long did that take? How long did that on? 32 minutes. It took 20-25 minutes to cook it. And it's definitely good. Yeah, anything that starts with olive oil, butter, garlic, and onions. Well, you can keep the onions, but I do like garlic. I would rather have shallots. And shallots are really good in there. I don't like onions, but I like shallots. I can deal with green onions, but most onions I just don't like them. Don't know why. Green peppers either. I used to love green peppers when I was a kid. I'd eat them right out of the garden like an apple. But nowadays, I just don't like them. I don't know why. Small amount regular white and making cabbage rolls help bind the filling. Yeah, that'd be good. A little starchier rice with the regular rice to hold things together. Making a garment. Yeah, you want a bowl too? I got a little left over. You can come on over and I'll dish some up for you. Wapak Scotch bowl for cheap, but you haven't used it. Not sure what to cook in it. Oh, they're great for like soups and stews, that sort of thing. That's mostly what they were used for originally. Making like a barley soup is really good. Something you're going to cook long and slow. Were fire pokers made with a hook for these bowls? Yeah, they had a hook on them for bowls. A lot of older kettles, 3-legged cauldron type of kettles. They had a ring on them too, so you could hang them over an open fire, and pull them back out of the fire with the hook on your poker. Homegrown parsley? No, I got that at the store on my way home. Yeah, risotto, you could have it for main course or an only course. Yeah, Parmesan and butter really kicks it up. It's good even without the Parmesan and butter at the end, but when you throw that in there, that really makes it. Butter and mushrooms. I bet a cast iron wok would work good for this. Yeah, it probably would. I never really thought of that. That'd be keep everything down to one spot. In fact, that Scotch bowl would probably work really good for this too. Keep everything kind of puddled together in the middle. Brenda, what did you miss? Well, you missed me making risotto. The whole thing, in fact. There, see, got me a little bowl of risotto. Just a plain risotto. I didn't put any meat or vegetables in it. But even so, it's just delicious. And thank you for the $5, Brenda. That's very kind of you. How much chicken did I start with? That's 1 quart of chicken stock. I probably could have used a little bit more, but a quart and a cup, quart and a half should be enough. Onions are disgusting. Yeah, I never did like onions. Don't like green peppers either. Yeah, like I said, I used to love them when I was a kid, but nowadays I just can't stand them. I guess your taste do change. You have a cast iron juicer got from an old friend who's long gone now. It shows 3 letters on each side. ACO. Any info helps. I'm not sure offhand. It doesn't ring any bells. I know what you're talking about. It's got the screw press kind of thing and a basket inside of another container, and use it for squeezing fruit or pressing lard. They use them for. The one I have, there's a sausage stuffer attachment for it if I could ever find one, which probably be pretty tough to find nowadays. But yeah, ACO, it doesn't ring any bells right offhand. I could do a little bit of looking around, see if I can find something on it, but take a bit. Small cast iron with a handle to hang over fire, has an aluminum strainer that fits inside. I think it says Elder 7 on the bottom. Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar either. The 7 is probably a size number, and skillets and skillets and kettles weren't necessarily. They had different size numbers. A number 7 kettle, what the 7 refers to isn't necessarily the same as a skillet. Sometimes they went by the how many quarts they would hold. Sometimes not. Size numbers are really kind of random on pretty much all old cast iron. Number 8 is usually bigger than a number 7, but that's really all they mean. But as far as an actual size, because different makers made different sizes with the same size number, even the same maker, different types of pans had different. Any skillets with a pointed handle? Yeah, it does ring a bell. Some of the old gate marked skillets had a pointed handle, and there was. I know I've seen them, and yeah, I think it was an unmarked one too. But I have seen a few skillets with pointed handles, so they are out there. Small kettle with a strainer sounds like it's for brewing tea. Yeah, is it a kettle like a tea kettle, or is it a kettle like a cauldron type of pot? Juicer just has a handle you pull down, no screw threads like a press. Oh, you mean like an orange juicer type of thing? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it doesn't. ACO doesn't ring any bells really. Very hard to Google. It can be. Trying to search for ACO on Google. You can get 25 million results. Unless you luck out and find one on the first page that's close. Even if you put in ACO juicer, you get, some, Ronco Popeel magic juicer listed, and it can be surprisingly tough to find to Google things, especially if you don't know a real correct name for it. You don't have much information like a name or something like that. Cauldron holds maybe 6 cups. Yeah, that sounds neat. It might be more like a meant for like a deep fryer if it has a strainer basket inside. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty cool thing. I spent this past week putting up 1,200 pounds of food, only 500 to go. Well, good work. What all are you canning? Canning, dehydrating. I just got done dehydrating a bunch of blueberries and freezing a bunch of them. I got a 10-pound box. Take a picture and do an image search. Yeah, you might be able to. That might be your best bet on a lot of things. You can get narrow down the results a little more. So that'd be, it's definitely a good way to, way to start. Uh, what was I saying? Oh, I had a question on Facebook today, right before I started the show. A woman had got a bunch of her grandfather's old skillets and couldn't remember. She'd seen the video on how to strip off their gummy, real sticky, got a lot of buildup on them, and told her the best way to do a few pans is with oven cleaner. If you're watching, spray them down with a heavy layer of oven cleaner. Stick them in a plastic bag and let them sit for a couple of days, and that'll dissolve most of it. You might have to do it a couple of times. Or if you're like me and you got a lot of cast iron to clean up, a lye bath is a lot more economical, a lot more efficient because you can do a lot of them at the same time. Yeah, Brenda, how are you putting up your food? Are you canning, freezing, dehydrating, freeze drying, smoking? We're curious. A plague of locusts decimated your garden? Oh, Lord. The hoppers are spreading fires. Jeez. Fiery locusts? So that's almost biblical. Oh, that's good. So yeah, you definitely got to make yourself some of that risotto. It's real. Like I said, you watch me do it. It's real simple. Just a matter of keeping an eye on it. I had a little tiny bit that stuck down at the end. If I could have scraped that loose. But for the most part, nothing should really stick to your pan unless you get it too hot and really boil off the liquid real quick. You don't have to stir it constantly, but stir it enough that it don't stick, and it shouldn't be a problem. Kim, you got to take off now. Well, it's good seeing you, and I'm glad you like the recipe, the little cooking show. Let's see here. I haven't got to the smoker yet. Freeze drying, canning, Mylar vac seal. Haven't got to the smoker yet. Okay. What all you're putting up? A lot of meat, a lot of veggies, all kinds of stuff. I didn't put in a real big garden this year. I just, because I still got quite a bit of stuff I need to go through from last year. That'll hold me over the winter. But, next year I'll put in more. This year I just planted some squash. I already got a couple of them that are just huge. I mean, they're about a foot across. And it'll be towards the end of September early before they're done. They usually pick them after the first good frost. And I'm going to get quite a bit of squash off them. We got one little watermelon. They're not real big melons to begin with, but I just got the one. It's the first year I planted them. They call them yellow doll watermelons. They get maybe 6-8 inches across, and they're yellow inside, but they're super, super sweet. They're really, really good. And I hope this one turns out, but I'll know better how to start them off next year. So this is my first year trying them. I started the plants off, but they really struggled at the start, and this one finally came back and managed to establish a little vine. But it pretty much got them figured, so they'll do good next year. I put in some peas, but my peas just didn't do anything because when we were planting, from the middle of May, what are you doing down there, dog? From the middle of May into almost up to the first week of July, it was colder than hell at night. And you have to bring everything in, you have to cover it up, and couldn't really get anything planted permanently in the garden. Got a couple days where you could plant everything, got it all planted, and then it turned 98, 99 degrees for a week and a half straight. And peas like it cold. Well, not cold, but peas do best in cooler weather. You can usually start them fairly early, and they thrive when it's cooler. And when it gets really hot, really stunts the peas. So I didn't really get nothing for peas. Got a few here and there, just enough to eat when I'm up there messing around in the garden with other things. You name it, you're probably putting it up. So everything will be put. You gave away your entire stockpile, so everything will be new this year. Yeah, it's good. Rotate your you gotta rotate any sort of stored food that you have. You got to rotate your stock. Bring your oldest stuff out first so you can get that used up. And canned goods officially it says they're good for 18 months. Well, really, most canned stuff is good for 4, 5, 6, even 10 years if it's stored right. But you still want to. I try and keep things less than 3 years at the most. For my canned goods. And frozen goods depends on how well I packed them. You know, uh, I usually turn over my freezer fairly quick, within a year or so at the most anyway. And some stuff I know I'm going to use right away, I'll just throw it in a Ziploc bag and throw it in the freezer. I won't bother to vacuum pack it. So it has kind of bitten me once in a while. You get something stuck away in the back you forget about, and you pull out a chunk of freezer burnt something. Can't even tell what it is because it's so iced up and freezer burnt. Just stuck in a little plastic bag. But the dogs like it once it thaws out, whatever it turns out to be. Anyway, something else I was going to mention too. What was I doing? I'm working on my new electrolysis tank. I'm going to try some stainless steel electrodes. I found a couple of old, good sized stainless steel stock pots at Goodwill, so I'll cut them up and use those for the electrodes. I'm not really endorsing using stainless steel yet, but I want to try it out. I got to get some nickel and chrome test strips just to see if it's getting into the solution. And once I've satisfied myself that it's safe to use, then I'll really endorse it and say, yeah, go ahead. But for right now, I'm just testing it out. But I got a couple of little parts I got to make for hanging the pans in there, and I should get that all done this weekend and have the video up by sometime next week. So I got that going for me. Yeah, finally got all the little bits and pieces put together. Still have a butcher, a steer, and a pig. Did chickens in June. Get your elk in October. Free food by couponing. Could send you some of those. Yeah. Canned up some sauerkraut here. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. Yeah, I don't make a whole lot of time. I usually make about a 5-pound batch at a time in a gallon jar, and that'll make about a dozen half pints, which is just great for for hot dogs or bratwurst or anything you want to put sauerkraut and pork chops. I made sauerkraut and steak the other night just to try it out, see how it would work out, and that was really good. Overcooked it a little bit, but I have an enamel pan. Yeah, it's homemade sauerkraut, and I had a little bit left over in one jar that didn't seal, so I had about a little under a pint worth of sauerkraut. So I seared up a steak, put it in a enameled Dutch oven. Well, I seared it up right in the Dutch oven, and deglazed it with a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Put the steak in, put the sauerkraut on top, and threw her in the oven for a while. Like I said, I overcooked it. Probably should have used about 10 minutes less than what I did. But turned out just tasty as hell. I never would have thought that, beef and sauerkraut would really go that as good as, pork chops and sauerkraut do, but they really go together good. I was surprised. Well, maybe not. I made sauerbraten before, which is like it's a German dish. It's like a pickled pot roast. You take take a roast, and you stab a bunch of little holes in it, and you put it in. You let it marinate in vinegar, spices, usually carrots and onions, things like that. It's basically just pickled, and put a good bit of ginger in there for spices. And you bake it up with some of the juice, and then at the end you take about take a good sized handful of ginger snaps, the cookies, and you crumble them up on the into the liquid in the roasting pan, stir it in, and it thickens that up into a gravy, and it's just fantastic. Need my address to send me a jar. Still haven't made it homemade, but some though. Yeah, I got a video on making homemade sauerkraut if you need directions. I've canned it up on my cook stove. You just water bath can it. It only takes I think it's 20 minutes for pints. Don't quote me on that for sure, but it's just a little bit more than sealing the jars really to process it in a water bath, because sauerkraut will keep on its own. That's why you make sauerkraut in the first place, to preserve cabbage. And it's real simple. All it is cabbage and salt. I put a little bit extra water in there. You're supposed to get enough juice out of the cabbage that when you weight it down, it'll have enough liquid to cover it. Mine never does get quite enough juice out of it, so I top it off with a little water, and then you just let it ferment. The temperature is kind of important, especially the first couple of weeks, because if it's too cold, it won't ferment and it'll go bad. If it's too warm, it tends to get nasty and slimy. So you want it, 70-ish, 72, kind of cool room temperature seems to work best for it, especially when you're when you're starting off the first couple of weeks. After that, if it gets a little warmer or cooler, it's not fermenting as fast and it doesn't seem to affect it quite as much. But yeah, it'll leave her sit for a month and a half and you got sauerkraut. You want a jar though too, huh? Well, you could send it to me. I got the big crock, but don't have cabbage yet. Yeah, like I said, I usually make a small batch. Got a gallon jar, got a weight that I made, and some little pieces there that you put those on top and then set the weight on it. And that's a winemaking airlock. I just put a bulkhead fitting in the plastic lid. Oh, that's going to fall apart. Let's put a bulkhead fitting through that, the rubber stopper, and the winemaking airlock. Because the better job you can do of keeping the air away from it, the better it'll turn out. It really does make a big difference with that. Like a big crock, after you weight it down, you can take a big plastic bag and fill that with water and set it on top, and that'll seal out the air pretty good. But this works just slicker than hell for a small batch in that gallon jar. Like I say, you can make about a 5-pound batch at a time with that. And they make fermenting crocks. It's a crock, and around the inside of the rim, there's a kind of like a U-shaped gutter, and then the lid is turned down. There's a rim on the lid that sits down in that gutter. And then you fill it up with water, and that'll do the same thing as an airlock, and those work pretty slick, I guess. But the biggest one I've ever seen is I think a 3-gallon one. They don't make the big 10-gallon crocks. Yeah, I got a big 10-gallon crock. I kind of missed out on the pickles this year. I didn't get my cucumbers like I was hoping to, so I didn't make any crock pickles, which is really a disappointment because I make pretty good crock pickles. Gonna make kraut at the end of August, red and green. Oh yeah, red looks really cool once it gets all fermented up. Last year I made it out of my homegrown cabbage, and that turned out real nice. But that was just green cabbage. And I think next year I'll plant some red cabbage and make some sauerkraut out of that. I got a bunch of people that want jars of sauerkraut, so Brenda, you can send your address to themudbrooker@yahoo.com, and yeah, I'll send you out a jar, a little half pint. Let's see here. Gonna be canning frozen veggies into meals in a jar and soup. Yeah, that's good. And a lot of people like some meals in a jar are real handy. You can just dump it in the pan, warm it up, and away you go. But mostly I can, ingredients. A can of carrots. Can everything separately, and you can do a lot of different, lot of different, lot of different things with it. Like canned carrots, you can do all kinds. You can make beef stew. You can make chicken soup. If you got a jar of chicken, you're stuck with a jar of chicken soup. I have a recipe for sour Reuben calls for turnips. That sounds good. I wonder how that would turn out. Sour Reuben. Yeah, I've never heard of that. It does sound pretty slick though. Uh, is it just turnips fermented, or do you use like sauerkraut and turnips? That sounds pretty darn slick. I have to try that out one of these days. Yeah, and here's a lot of the old school things. The crock is one of those things. Yeah, and you can get new crocks. The company that, if you go to the All American Canner website, they the same company also sells crocks. They're Ohio stoneware, made in America. They're good crocks. I got a, can't remember if it's a 10 or a 15 gallon. It's a big one. I got a big one from them, and I'm real happy with it. And they got all those smaller ones, different sizes. Yeah, some things separate, some things are meals, options. Yeah, because if you got nothing but canned beef stew, you're probably going to get sick of that after a while. But if you got, canned potatoes, canned carrots, canned beef, canned chicken, you can go a dozen different ways with it. So that's what I usually do. I got to finish restoring that fruit press of mine. It's just about done. I got to season up one piece of it yet. And once I get that all done, I'm going to make some blackberry jam with that, because I got most of a gallon bag of blackberries in the freezer. You got to freeze them because they don't all come ripe at the same time. And by the time you get around to doing them and then get the last ones ripe, you couldn't just keep them in the fridge without them getting moldy on you. So once I get that all ready to go, I will do a video making, squeezing some blackberry juice and making blackberry jelly out of it. And I got jelly bags. I'm trying to remember if in fact, I know I do now that I think of it. The company I have a big wooden cider press, and they make smaller presses, tabletop presses like that. And I should get a hold of them, and they make liner bags for those that are made for these. I have jelly bags, but they're small, and got like a drawstring top on them. I could put two of them in there and press them down with that. But it'd be pretty cool to get an actual liner where you can just drop the it's a mesh bag, like the my big cider press. It's got a bushel sized wooden tub on it for the press, and it has a mesh bag that you can line that with. It keeps all the apple bits in when you're squeezing frozen berries and cream. Yeah, that's it's one of the main reasons why I froze about half of my blueberries, because just taking frozen berries, pour a little cream on them, sprinkle some sugar, let them set for a while. It'll freeze the cream, turn it into slush. That's really good. Leave some seeds in. Blackberries need their seeds. Well, yeah, I might make some plain preserves. We'll see how much I get for blackberries. There's still some more coming ripe. If I get enough, I'll make some blackberry jam with the seeds in it and make some seedless jelly too. Because I got blackberries all around my yard, wherever you don't. Around here, wherever you don't mow, or if there's or if you clear a spot in the woods. Before long, it's just thick with blackberry brush to where you can't hardly even walk through it. Makes deer hunting kind of a pain sometimes, especially go through some cut over area that's all popple slashings and blackberry brush and just rip the hell out of you going through there. But it can be worthwhile because the deer love to hide in that sort of stuff. Get them all chased out of there and get some venison in the freezer. The last couple of years, I haven't really had. I've either been working or doing something else over deer hunting season. I hardly got out at all, and I could really, really love some venison this year. I'll have to make a concerted effort to get out and shoot me a deer. Just turnips, huh? Is it just turnips and salt, or is there anything else? Yeah, the nuisance washing. Yeah, they're a nuisance pretty much everywhere. Unless you got them kind of contained. Yeah, I'm really, really interested in that fermented turnips. Huh. But anyway, I've been at this for an hour now. My risotto's cooled off enough. Well, more than enough that I can still eat it. It's still nice and warm on the bottom, though. I can feel it there. Going to eat that for supper. And I'll see you all next week. Oh, thank you much, Brenda. I really appreciate the money. It's always good. Oh, and be sure and hit the like button on the way out because that seems to keep YouTube's algorithm interested and gets me spread around and more people can find me. And it's always more fun with more people in here because there's more people to talk to, more comments and things like that, things to talk about. It helps me fill the time because I'm not really all that chatty of a guy. From an old country woman's cookbook. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I want to see if I can find another. I have that one reprint of a 1800s cookbook that was a cookbook and catalog for wood cook stoves. I want to see if I can find a couple more of them over the summer because over the winter I'm going to recreate some of the recipes out of that on the cook stove. That would be a lot of fun because trying to figure out what the difference, what do they mean exactly? A teacup full, a dessert spoon, and a pinch of this, okay. But that ought to be a lot of fun. And good night, everybody. We'll let you all go. I'll have to listen back to this once YouTube posts it and see how the sound turns out because, like I say, I really wish StreamYards would have a meter when you're broadcasting because that would be handy. But I got a new mic. It's the same kind of mic that I had before. And I was real happy with that one. And I think once I get this one here all set up and figure out all the adjustments I need for it, should be a pretty good one too. So I'll see you all next week, same time, same day. And hopefully your life goes good until then.